woodpecker, ready to dig its beak right into your skull. Good morning. This is Bill from Curious Cars on, a pretty crappy Florida Friday. I have to say, the temperature's probably in the low 70s. It's been hot this week. It's not going to get any better. It's going to keep getting hot and hotter and hottest until, it's just the miserable, shitty, humid summers we're used to. There was a woodpecker around that looked really menacing. He was giving me the evil eye before he took off, probably waiting for me to get distracted before coming back. So we'll keep an eye out for that. And otherwise, we're just going to dive right in and get things going. I know it's been a while since I've done a video. That's an endless trope that I've been saying with almost every video that I've done. But I promise things are going to change soon. We're going to get more reviews coming. Some significant changes in the life of Bill, so hopefully that does it. And we'll see where it goes. That Fifth Avenue that I bought on Bring a Trailer came in. It would already be up, except it was vandalized, or at least robbed in a truck stop. I mean, somebody pried off the rear emblem, the flipper thing that covers the lock, and some trim on the front and rear bumpers at a truck stop on the way down. I mean, what are the chances that some guy who needs Fifth Avenue parts and is a thief happens to be at a truck stop wherever the hell this thing was? I mean, it's just typical of the luck that I have these days. But anyway, once I've ordered the parts, he didn't do any real damage. Once they're back on, I'll clean it up, and we'll do a good old classic old style review on that thing, because I've been jonesing to do one for years. Also, that Cadillac I bought at the auction we'll probably do, and whatever other stuff that I come up with. And then later on this summer, if things go well, I'm going to be getting the hell out of town for almost all of July and half of August, and do some stuff up north where it's a little bit cooler. Quick update on Chris, worst human on earth. I'll prove it to you this time. Yesterday, I was driving a car, and the thing started overheating. I had to pull over, and I called Al. He said, yeah, look, I can come get you, but it'll be a while. See what Chris is doing. And Chris lives close to where I was. So I called Chris up, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm on the side of the road. I think the thing just needs coolant. And all of a sudden, the phone went dead. Called back 10 seconds, right to voicemail. Called back again, right to voicemail. So I gave up. I called Al. I got him. Al's very cheap, by the way. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that, but very nice guy to come rescue me, but he is intensely cheap. But anyway, he comes with whatever cheap water he found. In fact, I think one of the jugs had no cap on it, just tape. And he helped me out. Chris calls back 24 minutes later, which to me is scientifically the exact time that he calculated it would take me to make other arrangements to be rescued. And he calls back like, oh, hey, I missed your call. I lost reception where I was at. Anyway, and now he has become a licensed insurance adjuster, and his entire life is rooting for hurricanes. Yay, hopefully some old people will drown and people will lose all their worldly possessions, and I'll be able to go around and estimate their houses and make money. I mean, the sickest person on earth, and these are the people that I count amongst my friends. But anyway, look, I'm going to give Al credit for rescuing me. Very kind. We added a little coolant, and it turned out when you have coolant in a car, it'll stay running cooler. When you don't have it in there, then it's a problem. So anyway, look, nobody cares about this crap. We'll see. Yeah, coming up, 37 Packard potentially with Corvette running gear. We'll get into that later. A Nash Metropolitan, theoretically, that Fifth Avenue, and whatever the hell else I can dig up. But we'll stop there, and we're going to dive right into this car. So this is a 1954 Chevrolet 3100 pickup truck. It's part of the Advanced Design series. That's what it was called at the time. And it was a sea change in the truck world when it came out in 1947. It was the first modern pickup from the big three after the war. Chevy beat Ford by a year. Ford basically invented the pickup back, in Model T days. There was a Model T pickup. But Chevy, sort of even back then, took the ball and ran with it. And they were leading in sales, even going into World War II. Coming out of World War II, they were the first to release this thing. And it sealed Ford's fate. Ford came out with a modern pickup in 48 the next year, but it just never touched Chevy's sales figures until, of course, the F-150 would take over like the best-selling car in America, a few decades later. But anyway, so in 47, when this series of trucks came out, it was a very big deal, very modern, and while looked at today as kind of the classic pickup truck, at the time it was something of a spaceship. It was very, very modern, very with the times, and definitely much more creature comforty than pickup trucks had been before that. While it was the next generation of Chevy that's kind of credited with it, one could argue that GM was realizing that many of their customers were going to use these trucks for daily private transportation and not just work applications. You can see it in some of the equipment on this truck and the way it rides. Given their thoughts, I think these advanced design pickups drove very well, and they had some car-like equipment and features to that end. Nothing like the next gen, which was very car-like, but this one was enough that your average farmer could drive it as his family truck. Well, if he had one or two passengers, instead of having a family car. And I think it showed what would come in the year. Now everyone drives these four-door trucks. It's great and it's cool and all that, but to me, it's not really a pickup truck when you've got a middle bed and four doors. It doesn't make a lot of sense. You might as well buy a Cadillac, but it's the way of the world, and it's what people seem to want. So who the hell am I to argue with it? Probably most importantly, in 1954, the year that it got a new engine. I think all of these trucks had engines called the stove bolts. And in fact, one of the biggest support sites on the internet for these trucks is called stovebolt.com. But in 54, the engine was completely refreshed, and it was like the difference between, propellers and jets. It became a much more modern engine, but we'll get into that as we go. It got a bullnose front end in 54. It was different from the Art Deco grille of the earlier models, so that, some people would argue that looks great. And this deluxe version with the 5 windows was released, and it's thought to be kind of the definitive version of these trucks. The 5 windows are the most sought after by collectors and the most appreciated. Those little back cab windows are basically a 54 version of blind spot detection. It just made your visibility that much better. This one is finished in what I believe is called juniper green. Looks very good. You can see it's got a wooden bed. This is a Penelope creation. She got into aviation, so we've got Sky Chief fuel badges on the side. The bring a trailer guy can take them off, but I do think it suits the truck with the green and red and Texaco colors. Looks kind of good on this thing. You can see the original caps. Very solid truck all around. Really shockingly solid. A lot of these things turn to powder. You can see here in the bed, wooden at the bottom, obviously narrow because the fenders are on the outside. That would change as years went on, but a very useful little cargo box. And, of course, farmers put that to good use, and it just looks so damn cool and rustic now, including the tailgate with the chains to hold it up, and chrome bumper. Went to round tail lamps in this year. They'd been square earlier. Big spare tire on the side. It looks pretty cool with the notch into the fender. The running boards on the exterior, that would change in the next gen when they became more car-like. The running boards would move to, inside the door, and people, then a Suburban came. Yeah, well, they had a Suburban. for this gen. But anyway, they just became a lot more car-like. You can see the badging, all very cool. Let's have a look under the hood. See this engine that I'm talking about. And also this alligator style, as they call it, opening hood, that replaced the fender style opening hoods of the 30s, you know, where they opened up from either side, like an old Model T or something. This was a very modern feature when it came out in 47. Anyway, there it is, the Thriftmaster 235. It replaced what I believe was a 212 or 216. But what's key is, even though it's the same stovebolt sort of engine as it's called, this one now had a fully pressurized oiling system, which the prior didn't. You know, much more earlier style. Much more modern to have the oil system be pressurized. It also had modular, if you want to call it, crankshaft rod bearings that could be pushed in. The prior engines, they were cast into the rod bearings, so if the engine got rebuilt, you'd have to order the whole connecting rod, and it would have the bearing as part of the casting in it. This one, you actually pushed them in. It was just more, you know, serviceable, if you will. Inline six engine. It never really been a bad inline six in anything that I've ever seen. Datsun, Ford, Chevy, Chrysler, you name it. Inline sixes are just where it's at in terms of durability. I like Penelope's little overflow tank. It looks like a Grolsch beer with the copper line running to the radiator. Nice touch. You know, the engine's been refreshed. The valve cover painted. Looks good. New decals. Period correct coil. Very simple, unlike vehicles of today. Over here you've got a one barrel, I believe it's a Solex carb, refreshed, oil-based, heavy-duty air cleaner. What the hell is this thing? This is filter element. This is probably your oil filter, yeah, down there for the engine. You see the generator there, nice stuff. Firewall looks good. But anyway, this engine was a very big deal when it came out. It also could be had with an automatic, which was new. This one doesn't. It's got a 3-speed on the column. But you could get this thing with an automatic. And it was basically very similar architecture to the 6-cylinder that was in the 53 Corvette. So it was a passenger car engine that had moved into pickup trucks, and that was a pretty big deal. So anyway, there it is under the hood, and we close that back down. You got to look at all this up front. And I'm going to pause there for a minute. We'll have a look inside the truck and then take it for a spin. So bear with me. Alright, so let's have a look inside. I've got a couple of GoPros set up. Depending on how the footage goes, we'll see if we use those or not. You can see here on the original windshield, I didn't mention, there's a scratch. So we're going to try to have that polished out before the auction, and, you know, we'll see if it improves. Anyway, we'll have a look inside. So this has been refreshed, but it's still pretty original. You know, I think it's been painted in here, original color, and you know, has a seat cover, probably new liners on the door panels, probably a new headliner, and some new bits, but you know, it's still very, very much the way it came on this sort of well-preserved truck. And you can see again that it is, you know, look, we look at it now and it looks like, you know, a Model T. I mean, it's antiquated. At the time, it was considered to be quite modern and very proper and very comfortable. You had these vent windows had come in, you know, in the redesign, much nicer than not having them. They steer air at you when you're driving. You also have a little lever here, which if I push it down, that'll allow air to come in the cabin from this little hood vent that sort of pops up, so that's pretty cool. Let me get that back up. Actually, you know what? I'll probably leave it down. There it is. Comes up pretty good. It's probably going to blast some nice cool air. Haha. You got a rubber floor mat. You can see you got a shitload of pedals down there. You got your e-brake here, your emergency brake, your clutch, your brake, your gas, and that is a push button, push lever start. And of course, you also have your high beam control there. And I do believe that this is new rubber matting that Penelope put down. There's the original gross vehicle weight rate, 4,800 pounds, you know, cool stuff all there. Everything, well, you know, you could tell by the hinges, everything's pretty original on this. And again, very, very solid. Love the steering wheel with the little grippities on the spokes. Let's just hop in there. You can see that Art Deco styling on the hieroglyphics on the gauges, and gives you pretty full gauges. You got gas, temp, amps, and oil pressure, so I feel like I'm in a 911. There's your brake release here. You see the Art Deco style, you know, Bakelite stuff from the 50s. You've got, I believe that's the choke, although I've never bothered using it. T, I don't have a clue. And I'm not going to start now. You got a lighter there. Let's turn this thing on. So ignition with the key. And that's probably the wipers, but I'm not going to screw with those either. Clearly they work. You got a scratch. Anyway, clutch in, and I'm going to push down on the starter, and the thing springs right to life. So very, very cool, nice running car, nice running truck, like the Chevrolet script in the dash. Again, a different dash from the year. The sun visor, you know, you take it for granted now, but this was considered a car-like feature, and a lot of cars, you know, trucks wouldn't have had it before this generation came out. Probably wouldn't have even had a passenger sun visor. That's an ad. Like that it has this travel record rear view mirror, cocaine mirror. You know, you're not going to get any Canadians in the back, but at least your lady friend can powder her nose and at the same time see when we're going to need to service the battery, oil, or grease. So, gotta love that. You got a glove box over here, a nice place to store a weapon of some. Ow, god damn it. Oh, for the love of God, why is everything hard? Why? I take my word for it. It's got a damn glove box that there's stuff in it. Like, okay. Oh, there we go. All right. Yeah, that's where I stuck the charger and the old interior light. They refreshed that. But anyway, you can see nice stuff. You also got an ashtray because, of course, people smoked at this point. So actually, I'll pause it there because I already did a tour for the Bring a Trailer people, and I want to fire it up for them. So we'll go for a drive here in a second. Bear with me. All right, let's go for a spin. So ignition on. It's got plenty of gas, don't need to prime it or anything. Push the starter pedal, and that Thrift Master fires right to life. You can see it's got pretty good gauge setup. Again, you know, I think I get so confused when I'm doing two videos. Anyway, there it is. It's got a nice gauge setup. Like the center view mirror, very cool. This generation, this redesign, got rid of the split front windshield and gave you kind of a wraparound looking thing. The next gen wrapped around even more. But anyway, there we go. So we got a horn, very cool steering wheel, no power steering, so the thing's the size of the bus you rode to school on in the 80s, at least I did. And you use the leverage of the big wheel to turn it instead of having the loveliness of power steering. But this is a very original truck. If you want to add all that stuff, you can, even air conditioning. Let me get the window down. Get a little air coming in here. Oh, God. There we go. And I think the pattern is back and up would be reverse, which I'm in now. Back and down is first. Go to neutral, it'll move forward, then third is up, and second is up, third is down. There you see 20,000 miles showing on the clock. Who the hell knows what it's got? And that is all working, so you know, I guess it depends on how people drove it. Let's go for a drive. Oh God, okay, one hand is not that easy to turn this wheel. Two-handed is actually not bad. Now, I drove this truck a couple of weeks ago when we went to the sun. Look at that. It'd be nice to clean the wind. I don't even have Dalton anymore, and you know, I still have dirty windshields, but anyway. I drove it a while back, and I was impressed at actually how modern the thing drives. It was a much better, I mean, look, you're not going to get in it and feel like you're in a Lexus or anything, or, you know, cruise up and down the the interstates across the country like it's nothing. But it is a lot better of a driver than I did think it would be, and it's something you can run around in daily traffic. It's got enough pep to keep up, certainly on the surface streets, and just is a nice cruiser. You know, way better than I thought for a truck of this vintage, and I think that's testament to what GM was going for, and of course testament to the new, more impressive engine that came out in '54. Alright, so there we go. It's first, second, third, and that's it, we're cruising. Look, I mean, the wheel's not shaking, it goes down the road nice. It's got one pot drum brakes all around, so they kind of suck. But as long as you plan your braking in advance, you're probably going to be fine. Like, I know I have to brake coming up there. I'm going to go to neutral now and sort of start tapping them in. What are the chances we come up to a stoplight and there's like a friggin' early 70s LTD in the intersection wanting to cross? You really don't see too many of them running around the streets anymore, particularly not in, you know, tired garb the way that one is. So, God bless that guy. He must be 120 years old. We could race him in this truck. Alright, away we go. And as I said, we're going to try to polish out that windshield a little. No promises, but if it works out well, I'll update the bring a trailer auction. There's second gear, wind it out a little bit. And there's third, and we're cruising. And man, do I feel some air coming in through that vent inlet on the hood, a lot more than I would have thought. So that's blowing right through and giving nice ventilation. We've got early morning traffic, so this ride is going to kind of suck. Let's get over here. Look, I mean, the truck is actually good enough to drive that I'm thinking about passing vehicles around me and hot rodding a little bit. And honestly, when I hopped in this thing, that is not what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be miserable just trying to keep up with traffic. And instead, yeah, you know, I'm slicing through it like I'm in an AMG car. Maybe not quite. But anyway, nice driver. And that's it. So look, you've got basically the definitive classic pickup truck, as people say, particularly in this 5-window deluxe version. From what I hear, and I'm not really a truck guy, but from what I understand, these are the trucks a lot of people think of when they think of classic pickup trucks. You see the temp stays nice and proper. We got charging going on the generator, and yeah, look, so we're on our way to the farmer's market or the strip club or, you know, wherever it is old truck people head to do their old truck things. Thank you very much for having a look, really appreciate it. If you're looking at this on Bring a Trailer, I appreciate the bids and comments. If you're looking at it on YouTube, thank you again for watching, and we'll try to get some more fun stuff out soon. So take care, and we'll see you with the next one.